Welcome to the Roads We've Traveled, episode 3. How you all doing today? My name is Pelletier, and today I've got Adam Salomon from New England Rock and Metal Radio. How you doing?
Very well. How about yourself?
Good. I pronounced that right?
Yeah, you got
Okay.
it.
Okay. I always get nervous about pronouncing last names because it's like it's hit or miss for me sometimes. So
I've gotten so many pronunciations. It's not even
mine
funny.
gets tricky for people too sometimes because they're like Mr. Pelletier. I'm like, it's Pelletier. Like, oh, Mr. Pelletier. Okay. And then I've even gotten someone giving me the French accent too, which is Pelletier. And I'm like, hey, that's actually pretty good. So,
Yeah, usually on my end, it's a spelling that people mess up.
yeah, mine too for some reason. But so how's it going, man? How's life during quarantine for you?
Oh, it's going, considering all of the craziness going on, but otherwise, can't complain. Lucky enough to have my health, my family's healthy amidst all of the chaos. And yeah, I understand you weren't feeling well for a while. So how are you doing?
Better, thank God. Minus all the background noise going on right now from my next door neighbor. If that gets picked up, I don't know how to deal with that, but we'll figure it out. But yes, no, my health is good. Thank God. I am feeling better, and I'm definitely taking precautions when I'm going out, like grocery shopping and stuff, wearing masks and gloves and stuff like that. So, but
Yeah, you have to.
yeah, hopefully this craziness dies down soon. I'd like to see my friends and go to shows again.
Oh, for sure. I
Yeah.
know everybody's getting antsy. They can't wait for shows to begin. And then you see all of these headlines popping up. Oh, shows may not be coming back until 2021. It's like, seriously?
Yeah. Yeah, it sucks, man. I got tickets to go see Disturbed and Stained in August, and I'm getting nervous that it's probably going to get canceled.
Yeah, well, hopefully it doesn't go that long, but if it does go for a prolonged period of time, I'm thinking maybe fall, but I can't see it going until next year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, people might be a little antsy about going out in public and being in confined spaces at concerts, which I understand, but that shouldn't stop concerts from happening. If it's deemed okay, and
Mm,
everything is getting better and we're past the curve.
hopefully. So I mean, so you have two kids? Is that it?
I've
Is
got
that
two kids.
two
Yeah.
kids? So have you been homeschooling them during this whole quarantine? You and your wife, or?
Yeah, my wife is working from home, and I'm kind of out of work temporarily.
Ah,
We'll see what happens with that, as time progresses. But I'm hopeful that things will get back to normal sooner than later.
yeah.
But I guess for now, I'm just thankful that I'm able to help my kids through school. My son has special needs, and when he's at school, he works with an aide. So I'm just thankful that I'm able to kind of be his aide and coach him along this new world that we find ourselves in.
Yeah. I hear you. I hear you. I mean, I don't have kids myself, but I mean, I know what it's like because my sister has two kids herself too, and her and her boyfriend are still working full time and trying to teach the kids too. Luckily, my nephew is he's about to be 16 this year, so he's been really stepping up and helping out. And my niece is, I believe, going to be 9 this year, so he's been really helping out and stuff too. But they both can't wait to go back to school themselves too. And I know my sister and her boyfriend can't wait till they can go back too. But it's not looking
Oh,
like it's going to happen until at least September. So because I think Governor Lamont just said that I think that they're going to be staying closed until at least September at this rate.
yeah, I think out here in Rhode Island they're saying May 8th right now is the target date, but anything's possible. Gina Raimondo here is very cautious, and some people like that, some people don't. But it is what it is. Politics aside, you got to do what you got to do. So
You got to stay
we
safe, you know.
exactly,
You know,
exactly.
it's not it's definitely scary out there, and a lot of people don't take it seriously, and it really aggravates me to see people that don't take it seriously either. And even when I'm at the grocery store sometimes too, like I'm trying my best to like stay away from people, keep that social distance, like I'm covering up, I'm gloved up and everything. I try to go down the right aisles because everything is one way now, and sometimes I make mistakes like that too. But then there are other times where it's just like people are right in your bubble, and it's like, come on, like you gotta back off a little bit here. Give me some room here. I'm trying to be respectful to everybody else, but some people are just oblivious sometimes too, and it's just aggravating.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, as time goes by, people get complacent, and everybody's upset. But we're all in this together. We got to help each
Exactly.
other out. And every time I go to the store, I think the people there, and I know they're doing their best. And I can see some of the cashiers. They're very stressed out.
Yeah.
They can't handle the long lines. So I try to reassure them, let them know that that you're doing a good job. I spent years working in retail. I
Same
actually
here.
work for a retail company now at their headquarters, and so I've seen both sides of it,
Hmm.
and just got to try putting each other at ease. I mean, there's too much chaos out there, so much division, and we're all in this together.
Exactly. I definitely do the same thing too. Like today, I always talk to the cashiers for a little bit, or the baggers and stuff, and like try to cheer them up a little bit, and in the same way too. Like, hey, how you all doing today? Hope you guys are staying safe and staying, healthy, this, that, and the other. And I always thank them for what they do, because I mean, I my first job was I was a bagger. For a place here in Connecticut that's still around, and sometimes I'll still pop in there. Sometimes it's like a small IGA store, and I'll never forget that. But I mean, I always try to like cheer them up and stuff whenever I go, and even before this quarantine stuff, I like making jokes and making them smile because I know how hard that job can be. And shout out to all the healthcare workers and all the other essential workers out there right now, keeping this country going. You guys are awesome, and we thank you guys very much. So, but
Definitely.
what was your first job?
My first job was actually pretty much the same as yours, working at Wall Bombs. I know I'm dating myself, but it was back in North Haven,
Okay.
and originally from the New Haven area. Grew up in Milford and then moved to North Haven. So I know the area very well. Still have a lot of friends out there, and I know the music scene very well out
So
there.
you are originally from Connecticut. Okay. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
This is actually our first time actually having a conversation together outside of Facebook. Like, we I think we ran into each other at FET one time, but I had to leave early
yeah,
that night, and we didn't get a chance to talk that night. So this is actually our first conversation together, and I was actually really excited to like get to talk to you and get to know you better. So
yeah, and
thanks for being on.
yeah. Thank you for
Yeah.
having me.
So, okay, so you grew up in Connecticut, which is cool, and you got introduced into the scene and everything. How did you get started in radio? Like, what made you want to get started in radio?
Always had an interest in helping bands out. And let's see, when I was in high school, way back in maybe '98 and '99, I was fumbling through the radio and came across Quinnipiac's radio station. I was able to get that at my house, WQAQ. And I heard a couple of bands on there, Machinery being one of them, Beyond Reality another one, and I was like, oh my god, those bands are good. I didn't think Connecticut or any place local had those kinds of bands, and the more I delved into the scene. The more bands I found, and they were just incredible. Some of them I'm surprised are even around today. Ink, Nasty Disaster,
Nasty
and
disaster.
I love those
Yeah.
guys. They're awesome.
I fucking love Ron and Dan and all those guys.
Oh my god, yeah.
They put on a
And
they put on a crazy show, but it's awesome and it's very entertaining.
Yeah, I loved it. I used to see him at Toads,
Oh my
uh,
God, Toads.
Gargantua Soul, so many bands,
Yep.
Tree. I even remember seeing Stained a couple of times up in Waterbury at some of the smaller venues.
This must have been way before they got signed then.
It was around the time they got signed, because I went to college up in Springfield,
Okay.
and that was a whole other world up there. Just the amount of bands and the close knit community of musicians, it was insane. Bands coming out of Worcester, Springfield, Boston at the time, Killswitch Engage, All That Remains, Stained, of course.
Hmm.
Then you had who else? Tree, Shatterbox was one of them, I believe.
I don't think I'm
Uh,
familiar with Tree. I don't think I've heard of them. I have to check them out.
uh, See, their singer has a new band, See This World,
Okay.
and yeah, incredible.
So you got started by listening to a lot of local music and getting your foot in the door that way. And did were you a musician yourself, or did you just want to find a way to like promote local music better? And that's how you got started in radio. Is that how it happened, or?
I've been playing guitar for many years, since roughly '93,
Oh, cool.
and I've also done some vocals, but for the most part, I write a lot of lyrics. And I'm more kind of like the back end type of person. I'm not the type of in your face person that I know a lot of people in the rock and metal community are used to. So that's probably another reason why I focused on radio. And going back in probably late '90s, early 2000s, I ran a website called Connecticut Area Bands,
Okay.
and I just listed bands, listed news, upcoming shows, things of that nature, and became close with a number of the musicians back then. And so everybody knew me; they knew who I was. Um, and I kept following them over the years, the various bands that they've been in. I know the guys in Simple, they're all in new bands up in the Springfield area, and Tree, Simple, and many other bands used to get a lot of airplay on WCCC
Mm,
up in Hartford. And I remember one time after hearing, I think it was again Machinery and Gargantua Soul on WQAQ. I wrote to Mike Caroli up at CCC, and I'm like, you got to play some local bands. And next thing I know, they're playing Stained. And I mean, I don't want to say I had anything to do with it, but after that, they played a lot of other bands
well,
from the area.
you know how Stain got signed, right? They played at the Webster Theater for Limp Bizkit.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Did you hear that Fred tried getting him kicked off the show that night because of the album art from Tormented?
Yeah, I heard that
Hey,
story.
the story is that he because I'm a huge Stain fan. Like I have lyrics tattooed across my arms, both of them, and it's from the album 14 Shades of Grey, and it says, "Never again will I look back in vain, because today's not the past. I don't need to relive it." And I look at that every day in the mirror because it helps with. It was just something for me that Stained helped me with my mental health throughout the years and stuff, and it got me through and got me into music and everything. So it's a reminder every time I look at myself in the mirror just to keep going, you
Oh,
know.
for
So
sure.
um, but yeah, no, that story was so crazy. And and
Yeah.
like Fred like threw the disc across the bar. He was like, I want these assholes out of here, blah 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 blah. And then like it was already too late at that point because they like hit the stage, and then like he heard them and he was like, all right, I could work with these guys, but like this shit's gotta stop with this album art. So at least that's the story I heard like throughout their documentaries and stuff. I got a kick out of it. But I always thought that was pretty cool that the Webster was where they got their first big break, so
Oh
but
yeah, and a lot of bands, playing through there. Weapon X, I know, was one of them way back in the day. They were starting to get big, and then for one reason or another, they broke up, and I think Martin O'Brien, their singer, started another band as Darkness Dies,
Yeah,
I believe.
yeah, I remember Martin. He was a good dude.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And he helped me out with some graphic design also.
I didn't know he was a
In terms
graphic
of
designer.
yeah, giving me pointers. I'm not sure what he's doing now. I know he was into photography and a lot of the arts, but I haven't spoken to him in years.
I haven't either. The last time I saw him was I want to say it was the Metal Fortress Awards at the Stafford Palace Theater, and that was back when I was still within the red. I think that was about the last time I saw him. But yeah, no, as Darkness Dies isn't even together anymore, right? I think they went their separate ways, right?
Yeah, yeah. The guitarist, I believe, is living in Arizona now, if
That's
I'm
right.
not mistaken.
So, but
And he's still very close with Joey Conception, who was in Dead by Wednesday for a while,
yeah,
and it's just an absolute killer shredder, one of the best on guitars.
Joey is definitely the biggest thing. Like I want to say right now, next to like the Belmores and there's a few others here in Connecticut that have really um, I don't want to say celebrity or whatever, but they're definitely like on the verge of stardom coming out of Connecticut right now. Joey's, besides Dead by Wednesday, he's toured with Josta. Um, he's toured with some really big time, like heavy dark metal bands or death metal bands and stuff like that. And I'm just so happy for the guy. Like I met him a couple times and he's like the most humble, nicest guy I've ever met. I've only met Nick Belmore once, and talked about it on I think episode 1 with Josh and how we met and everything going down to Dexter's. I haven't met Charlie yet, um, but yeah, no, I'm super happy for all those guys and where they're at right now. And it's just like, yeah, like they're putting Connecticut on the map right now and like helping out the local scene to get some sort of recognition too, because it's hard. It's hard to like promote yourselves all the time and like get people to come to shows. And we got guys like yourself and OFNR Radio, which unfortunately is no longer a thing. Shout out to Knob. It's now OFNR Studios. I think he still does some graphic design work for bands and stuff like flyers and stuff. But then you got like Metal Syndicate, Bull Spike Radio, New England Rock and Metal. Without you guys helping us out, like it would suck. We'd have nowhere to play our music because unfortunately, CCC wasn't. It's nothing against Mike Caroli. I've met Mike Caroli quite a few times and I've gotten to chat with him, and he's a super nice guy. But um, they haven't really been playing a lot of local rock music. And I know 104 did for a while with their homebrew, but it was like once a week. And like, yeah, it was cool. I got to hear myself on 104 a few times, but it's nice to have a station that not only plays local music like yourself, but still does play like top, you know, new rock music or signed bands, I should say, to get into rotations like that. So, we do appreciate the stuff that you've done for local music. So I want to thank you for that, man. You guys are awesome.
Yeah, I try, and I got to give credit where credit's due, also to a lot of the other stations, like what you're saying. Wayne Benson, Nina McCarthy with Boston Rock Radio, they're doing a
Boston
phenomenal
Rock
job.
Radio. Yep.
And I've met Nina on a number of occasions, and she's just incredible at what she does. And I don't know, she's very supportive of what I do. I'm supportive of what she does, and I guess in the whole scheme of things, we're supposed to be competitors, but I don't see it that way. And I know she's probably gonna have a good laugh, when I say this, but it's all about the scene and helping out all the musicians. And you were talking about some of the guitarists coming out of Connecticut. Jimmy Bell, he's risen above everything. He's
He's with
with
Autograph
Autograph
now.
now, I
Yep.
believe. Yeah.
That's right. I almost forgot about Jimmy Bell. Yeah, that's right. He is with Autograph right now. Very cool. But yeah, no, and I fully agree, man. Like it's all about like supporting each other too, because that's how I've always been when I was involved in a project, whether it was in the Red or Devil Inside. I was always going to shows and showing support to like bands that I liked, and I were into like if I wasn't like that, I wouldn't be friends with a lot of these bands and playing shows with them, like Fear of the Masses or Vision Within or Demons Pass or Enemy of Reason, and bands like that. Some of them unfortunately aren't around anymore, and it sucks. But they've moved on to other projects. Like I know Frank from Vision Within is with Aviant. I believe that's how they spell their name or say their name. I don't know. I just
Avant, I
I
believe.
designed their logo. That's all I know.
Oh, no wonder why it looks incredible.
I actually got inspired for that because like Brian Butler hit me up about the design work for it, and I was at work one night and I was looking at a floor mat for like those pressure like cushion mats that you stand on for like 10 hours and
Yeah.
supposedly help with you know pain or which don't work at all, but they had these like weird designs in them, and I was kind of like, huh. And Brian was like, yeah, I kind of want to have something with the A, V, and T in it. And I'm looking at this thing, and I'm like, what if I did it like this? And then I was like, that kind of looks like the Freemasons, but I kind of like it. So
Yeah. No, it came out great. And they're making some incredible music.
yeah, their stuff is really good, and I'm happy for them. I hopefully when all this is all over, I can catch them live because I think they were supposed to play with On the Red before all the craziness happened and Cody and John left. But I hope nothing but the best for them. So I definitely want to catch them at a show soon. But what was your favorite memory or favorite thing that happened since being in radio? Whether it was working for somebody else or whether it was with New England Rock and Metal.
Um, I don't know if there's really one thing that stands out. Kind of everything is just, incredible. Although going back many years, seeing Gargantua Soul at Toads, I remember many, many crazy stories with Chris, their vocalist Chris Keys, who's now
Yeah,
out in Oregon.
I thought he
At
was out. I thought he was out in
Iwasaki.
L.A., but maybe
He
I'm
was
wrong.
for a while,
Okay.
and now he's out in the Portland area with a new
Ah.
band, Jivasaki. I'm not sure what happened with Dive Bomber, the band that he was in LA. As far as I know, nothing official has been said regarding a breakup, but maybe they're just taking a break. I'm honestly not sure.
Mm.
But seen them many times at Toads. I've done a lot of band photography with them, a lot of live shots. And I remember this one time I went to, Chris was standing on the bar, and I went to just give him a high five, and all of a sudden he pulls me up one handed. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't expect that.
Very cool. Chris
Yeah.
definitely if you haven't seen Chris Keys before, definitely look him up. He wears like full body paint, everything. Like he goes like full warrior when he's on stage, and it's very cool. And some of it it's usually fluorescent if I'm not mistaken. Like, it interacts
Yeah,
with
yeah,
like the lights and everything. It looks very, very cool. But shout out to Chris Keys and Opus, definitely G Soul and Dead by Wednesday.
yeah, for sure.
I've worked with Opus a few times on some projects. So definitely check those guys out. I know G Soul's not together anymore, but they got some great music you can definitely still check out and look up. But definitely check out Dead by Wednesday too, especially the last album with all the guest vocalists, because Chris Keys was on it with a bunch of other great vocalists like Brian from Shadows Fall was on it. Um, it's a really good album. So
Yeah,
uh
definitely their self-titled album.
yeah, that was a good one.
Actually, no, their latest was the self-titled, I believe.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're right. Their latest is the self-titled, and that's got Rob Roy on it. But didn't he just recently step down from Dead by Wednesday?
He did, and I think they have a new vocalist. I don't remember who though, but he's from another Connecticut band.
Okay. I have to get caught up on some Dead by Wednesday stuff. It's just so hard to keep up on a lot of stuff these
Yeah,
days between two jobs and starting this new podcast and trying to do commission work on the side. I'm just a busy guy. So
yeah. Join the club. Everyone's just trying to keep their head above the water now.
yeah, unfortunately it is. Yep, I have to agree with that. But so what was growing up like for you here in Connecticut, and when did you move to Rhode Island?
Growing up, it was definitely some fun times in North Haven, but it was tough trying to find myself, find what I wanted to do with my life for a while. I just felt like I was going through the motions. I know you were talking a lot about mental health with Josh from Feed the Masses, and everybody's going through something one way or another, and just growing up trying to find myself was tough, and it was music that kept me going. Every so often, I would have suicidal thoughts and things like that, and I know some of the people who know me would be surprised to hear this. It's not something that I've been open with, but that was years ago. The more I got into music, the more, I guess, stable I became. I found myself, wrote a lot of lyrics. Some of them, happy, some not so much.
Mm.
And there's just so many things going through my head at the time. And when I graduated high school, I ended up writing a book about a fictional band out of New York. The
Did you ever get it published?
uh, Years later, I published it around 2011, called "Blinded by the Sun." It's not something that I've heavily promoted because by the time I published it, everything was just so grossly outdated
Mm.
with the way the music scene was, and
I'd definitely like to
it just
check it out, though.
yeah, it's on Amazon, and yeah, again, it's just grossly outdated. And I never, officially got it edited,
Yeah.
and never really spent the time to do that. I just wanted to get it out, clear all my thoughts, and a lot of my goals, a lot of my fears are addressed in there. Again, it's about a fictional musician, but I kind
Mm.
of put everything that I had uh, into that musician.
I feel like a lot of us as artists do, whether it's, with music or art itself, like we kind of do like the same thing too. We kind of just put our pain into our creativity and it just bleeds out that way, whether it's with writing lyrics or telling stories or designing comics or whatever. Cause I like doing that with everything. I like pouring my heart and soul into like whatever I'm working on. And it just shows like I have a painting in my kitchen. I don't know if you could really tell uh with the screens right now, but there's a painting I did a while ago. I'm not really good with canvas painting. I'd like to get better at it. I'm mainly just better with digital, but it's a painting where it's like me like ripping my face off kind of thing, like holding my emotion on a mask or something, and then where my face should be is just a black hole. You know what I mean? So it's kind of demonstrating the fact that like I'm masking my depression, or you know what I mean, like I have to put on a happy face all the time, you know what I mean? So and it's stuff like that like I enjoy doing more. And when I was still within the red, whenever I wrote a song, it was always inspirational or meaningful or had some sort of pain behind it, to like, because I always wanted to help others, you know what I mean? I want to help people get through what they're going through because that's what my inspirations did for me, and I wanted to do the same for them, you know? So I respect that a lot, man. I definitely would love to check out your book. What, outdated or not, I don't care, you know? Like I always love checking out my friends when they do creative stuff, man. So that's really awesome. And do you have any music that I could check out too, man? Like, or any old projects or something? Because I'm very very curious. Because I mean, as far as I've known, or as long as I've known you, you've been involved in radio. I had no idea that you were a musician yourself, like, and wrote yourself. So I'm definitely curious.
Yeah, and kind of going back to some of the things that you've written, I find that some of my best writings have come out of my darkest times. And I've definitely written a lot of songs. I've done some of the guitar work, never really recorded it up to the standards that I would like to see. But I finally got audio box, and hopefully I can just put some things together sooner than later, just to get it out there. But a couple of years, well, not a couple of years ago, many years ago, I should say, there was a karaoke bar in Wallingford, probably somewhere near where Cherry Street is now.
Okay.
Um, and I used to go there. They actually had a couple of heavy metal songs. They had Ozzy, Stone Temple Pilots, and surprisingly, they had Slayer. So
Nice.
I used to do some Slayer there, and I got off the stage one time, and some guy approached me. He's like, "We're starting a band. You want to join us?" I was like, "Shit, seriously?" So
I love how that happens. Like, good or bad. Like, you always have that one drunk in the bar. Hey, you're really good. You should be in a band.
I was able to surprisingly reach some of those notes, and I rocked out with these guys for a couple of times, but nothing really worked out in the long term. Just because I'm so musically diverse, I'm into hardcore, uh, just regular hard rock. So for myself, I never really knew what kind of band I wanted to be in, and so I jammed with a lot of different types of musicians. I jammed with Mike from Falling Further, Mike DeLucia, a couple of times, and jamming with him, it brought one of my riffs to life, which was just amazing. That's when I had that eye-opening experience, but still nothing worked out for prolonged periods of time for one reason or another. So that's why I just figured I'd settle doing some of the back end things, just
Mm,
promoting music, promoting the bands that I love. Because it's not really something that I was able to hold on to, and that's another reason why I was in that dark place, just fighting depression and things like that. But at least I was able to write lyrics, and some of those lyrics I gave to some friends, and they were able to record some stuff. I don't think it's out there anymore,
mm,
um, but it's just because it was so long ago.
mm. So I'm just curious. I mean, like, what kind of like going dipping into a little bit about like your depression and stuff. Like, what kind of stuff would like bring it on? Was it like what were you like going through at the time? I'm just, if that's okay with me asking.
Oh yeah,
Maybe
sure,
maybe
sure. Just
maybe we could relate in some ways to each other, or maybe try to help somebody else that's listening or whatever. What kind of stuff would like bring on your depression? Were you feeling lonely? Were you feeling isolated from people? Um, I, just some
in some
examples.
ways, yeah. In some ways, I had some friends in high school, but I was always the little guy who was getting picked on, and which is fine for what it was
Mm.
looking back in retrospect. But just going through that, it was there were some days where it was hellacious. Until I finally found myself, in my probably junior, senior year in high school. It kind of took that long to really get to a better place in my life. And all of my friends weren't really friends with each other. I had, one group of friends here, another group of friends here,
Mm.
and just trying to get everyone together just wasn't working out. And then when I graduated high school, it was like, oh my God, that portion of my life is completely over.
Yep.
And I was able to still see some of my friends and talk to them, but this was long before social media, so it wasn't as easy to connect with people.
Yeah. No, definitely. You and I are definitely kindred spirits because I definitely went through a lot of the same stuff in high school. And like, I just released episode 2 today with Cody. Cody and I actually went to high school together. That's how
Oh no
long,
way.
yeah, that's how long we've known each other. And we actually episode 2 will be out. Because I'm recording right now on Sunday. Episode 2 will be out tomorrow on Monday. So I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself right now. But yeah, no, Cody and I actually met in high school, and that's how long we've known each other. And he's always been like the cool guy, you know what I mean? Like he never thought he was popular, but like he got along with everybody. And I was very secluded. Like I got picked on a lot. I got bullied a lot. I got into fights sometimes too with these guys, and it sucked. But I mean, like Cody was like one of the very few people in high school that it didn't matter whether you were you thought you were nobody or whatever, or your sexuality or whatever like that. Like he treated everybody equally, and I think that's why him and I are still friends today, because he always treated me with respect, and I gave it right back to him. And plus, we were in homeroom together, so I mean, I saw the guy every fucking day. So so, but I definitely had some rough times in high school too, and after, because I went to a tech school and went in for manufacturing, and unfortunately, my bully followed me from freshman year all the way to fucking senior year. So we were in a lot of classes together academically, and then we ended up being in the same trade together for the rest of the year, and it was just a nightmare. And I would get beat up in the locker room every other day. And like the teachers knew what was going on too. The shop teachers, they didn't do anything about it. And it sucked, like I really was going through a lot. Like my parents got divorced around the same time, and I just didn't want to fucking deal with it anymore. So I definitely get where you're coming from. And it took a lot to just get through it. And when I graduated, it was the happiest day of my life. I was like, yes, I get the fuck out of here finally. And of course, they shoot off silly string when they say the class of '05, and I had no idea that everyone had silly string. And of course, I'm shielding myself from all the shit. And guess whose face winds up in the paper? Mine.
Oh
And
my god.
I'm like, God damn it. I can't have this one moment where I'm just happy to get the fuck out of this place, and I have to be reminded by my face being in the paper, like, oh, student AJ Pelletier shielding himself from mass silly string after Caner '05 graduates. And I'm like, God damn it.
At least you can look back at it and laugh.
I laugh about
It's
it
one of
now.
those moments.
I laugh about it now. Like my family, like the next morning, like, hey, you're in the paper. I'm like, yeah, so's everybody else from the class. Like all our names. No, you're in the paper. And I'm looking and I'm like, God damn it. And then my aunt and uncle came to like the graduation party, and then they got that thing framed. And I'm like, you guys suck. Like, I love them to death, but I'm just like, fuck. I don't know what happened to that picture, but I'm sure it's probably in the local archives somewhere at the library. But
Oh my god.
yeah, no, I totally get it, man. Like high school is rough on a lot of people, and kids are just brutal sometimes. And you're going through changes, and you're trying to figure out where you belong and who you are, and you don't get it sometimes until later on in life. And it took me a long time to figure myself out, and I had to get help too. I was seeing a counselor, and when my parents were getting divorced at school, that really helped me out a lot. And I've been in and out of therapy for most of my life. And if it wasn't for that, I don't know where I'd be right now. It's scary to think about sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, and you just need some kind of outlet, along with the right person to speak with.
Mm. And
You know,
I definitely agree with you that music was my drug to like get me through a lot of those dark times too. If it wasn't for music and art, I don't know where I'd be.
oh, definitely, and that's why I'm just so thankful that on that fateful day I heard some local bands on Quinnipiac's radio station. Otherwise, I don't know what I would have done. Yeah, well, I would have still been into the bigger bands and
Mm,
whatnot, but still, you don't really get that cool vibe of seeing the band live up close in your face and getting to talk to the bands after the shows and just conversing, getting to know them on a personal level,
mm. I
seeing some of the things that they're going through and how closely it relates to what you're going through.
Mm, agreed. I mean, when I joined in the red, at the time I was out of work for my back injury, and I was just losing my mind, like being home all the time, and not being able to do anything. So I was like, you know what, maybe I should look into joining a band or something, at least to just get out of the house and like do something creative and constructive to like take my mind off stuff, because at the time I was waiting to hear back when my surgery was going to be, and I was fighting with insurance companies and everything like that, and every day that just went by I wasn't making money. I was back at home with my mother, and just like I was just feeling so shitty about the whole time. And if I didn't get that email back from Pete saying, "Hey, we need a singer. You want to come audition to us?" I don't know if I would ever have gotten involved in the music, because I wasn't really involved in local music before that. And I thank Pete for that, because without him auditioning me and getting that gig, like, it just opened up a whole bunch of doors for me and got me into the scene and meeting such great people. So I'm very, very thankful for that.
Yeah, yeah. And you guys had some incredible tunes also. Hollow Soul and
Actually, Chris wrote that.
oh, Chris wrote that.
Chris wrote that. Yeah, I can't claim that, but we did have the remix with my friend White Cheddar, who's going to be a guest down the road too. He's a local rapper here in Connecticut, and he's a good dude. I was telling Chris, I was like, this needs something else. We got to spice this up just a little bit. And then I called in my buddy White Cheddar, and he was like, "Yeah, man, I'll freestyle on it." And like the the funny thing about that song is that when he started recording it, he forgot there were two choruses at the end. So that whole part where he's like, two choruses, that was like him saying, "Fuck, I fucked up again." And then we ended up keeping it in the final mix because it was so perfect and it was hilarious.
Oh
every
man, I
every
can't wait to
time
hear
I
that.
every time I hear it, I hear that, I just laugh so hard because I think about that night when he recorded it.
That's awesome. I'm so looking forward to hearing that.
But yeah, that's I believe that's on the From the Bottom album. I think that was like the final track on it.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So I wrote when I joined, the only songs I wrote on Dark Days Here were Weighing Down, Till the Day I Die, Fighter, and oh God, what was the other one? I think it was about my ex fiance. It was like one of the last tracks, I think, and it's honestly a track I don't like. Like, honestly, like I cringe so much when I hear some of the old stuff that I was a part of, because, like, you know, it was us learning how to record for the first time. You know what I mean? Like doing it ourselves and stuff, and trying
Yeah.
to put something out there. So it's like, you know, just figuring stuff out and trying to make it sound good, and then just hearing how far like strained myself to like getting through it, because I wasn't taking lessons at the time. It's so cringy sometimes to listen to myself. like ugh. Like honestly, like the last couple of songs that I did with the band before I left were probably some of my favorites that I could still listen to. So I don't know, did you ever get Scarred from In the Red? It was unreleased. Did you ever get that?
No, I don't have that.
Ooh, I gotta send that to you then. Maybe you could spin it on the station. Get it
Oh, for
out there.
sure. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's definitely one of my favorites. It's actually it's about my grandfather uh that I never met, my dad's dad, and what my dad had to go through growing up. So
So a lot of your father's experiences.
yeah, and it was basically me writing from his perspective, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like having to deal with what he had to go through growing up. So just about the abuse and the alcoholism and stuff like that. So, and when we finished that song, like we never got it uploaded, but like it was out there. We played it live a few times, and we got a lot of positive feedback from it. And I don't know why we never released it, but that was about the time that Chris and I both stepped out from the band, and it never got released after that. So, but I still have it. I'll definitely send it to you.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, but that and Home and a couple others, those were honestly like songs that I could still listen to, and some tracks off of From the Bottom I could listen to without getting like, oh, about. Like, I really wish I could go and redo Dark Days Here over again, but it's not going to happen, unfortunately. So
Yeah. Yeah, but home, I still play that regularly as well.
I love that song. That's
Yeah,
such
it's
a good
great too.
song. It's such lazy writing from my end. Like, I look back, I'm like, man, I wish I could have written more. But I mean, like, it does a trick. Like, it's catchy enough, people get it. So, but I'm like, ugh, I could have written more.
Yeah, but no, sometimes that's all you need is a basic song, basic lyrics, basic guitar line. It's all you need.
What about you? Do you have any songs that you've done in the past or anything that you're like, oh, I could have done better, or do you cringe at all at some of your work sometimes?
Yeah, I did record just a vocal version of "Seasons in the Abyss" by Slayer, which is actually the song that I did at karaoke
Oh, okay.
that I was talking about. And when I was recording it, it came out good, but for whatever reason, there was a delay in the sound, so the sound doesn't really sync up. Or the vocals don't really sync up to the music.
Mm.
So and even still, I cringe when I hear some of the parts. So I do want to go in and re-record that at some point. But I may throw that up on YouTube just for the hell of it. No matter how bad it is,
I'll
no
check
matter
it
how
out.
much I cringe.
I hear you, man. I hear you. It's sometimes you just got to do it, and like you got to be nice too when people like tell you, "Oh man, that sounded great." And, like you got to be like, "Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate that." You keep like, "Ah, I could have done better," or "Nah, it wasn't at my best," because like then you're like you realize like you can't take a compliment. Like somebody actually like thinks that like you're good. You know what I mean? Like learn to take a compliment, and like that's something I had to learn for myself, because there have been times where I would get off stage and I'm just like, oh, I could have done better. Like I sounded like shit, or like, you know, the mix wasn't right or something like that. Just
Yeah, yeah,
blaming a whole bunch of things. Just you just gotta kick back and say, hey, thanks, man, I appreciate it. And finally, like I understood that, and you know, it doesn't matter what I feel like at the end of the day. It just matters what the audience thinks at the end of the day. You know what I mean? So you're
yeah,
you're,
yeah,
you're doing
exactly. And
you're doing it for them. So
yeah, and things may sound different in the audience than it does on stage. I've noticed that a number of times
mm,
where I would go up to musicians after the shows or after their sets, say it sounded great out here. They're like, really? We had these this kind of technical problem or that kind of technical problem, and I'm like, yeah, I didn't hear it. I didn't notice it,
mm,
and I have a pretty good ear when it comes to like sound recording and things of that nature. And I know on some of the things that I've recorded in the past, I'm way too hard on myself. Kind of going back to some of the things that I've written and performed on. And I feel that if it's not up to my own standards, then I don't want to get it out there because I'm constantly feeling like it's not good enough. And that was one of the reasons why, going back to my book, I didn't self-publish until 2011 when I wrote it way back in like 99, 2000.
gotcha. Yeah, no, I'm
But but yeah, I mean it's definitely crazy. You gotta really believe in yourself. And even when you're at shows, on the stage, coming off the stage, oh, that was my best performance. If the crowd is into it, that's all that matters.
mm.
And if it's moving the person the right way, then you hit them, right there.
Exactly. I've always found that like when I'm on stage, like I come out of my shell like 100%. Like I'm always like moving around. I'm more active. I'm trying to get people into it. My energy just explodes on stage. When I'm off stage, I'm a complete fucking opposite. Like I'm like, oh hey, thanks. Appreciate it. Like I turn into a hermit sometimes, and like I'm socially awkward, and like I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Like, why can't I be that guy on stage that I am to like people in real life? Like I don't know. Like do you ever get like that? Like whenever you performed or played, or
Oh, all the
like
time.
or like your radio persona, is there a way you present yourself on radio to like real life or something like that's different?
Yeah, all the time. I mean, I don't really put myself on the air all that much. I basically focus on the music, just because, again, I'm more on the back end of things.
Hmm.
But yeah, when I am on the air, it's like a whole different part of me comes out. And when I was performing, the couple of times that I did, or when I was on stage introducing the band, 16 by 20, their vocalist Edward Lawrence, all of a sudden he hands me the mic. He's like, "You're going to introduce us." I'm like, "What?" And kind of like you, I'm this reserved person.
Mm.
And when I tell people that I'm into metal, they're like, "Not you. You're not into metal." And I'm like, "I am."
That's very cool, man. Like I totally get it. And like, you know, if I'd have never known that you were into metal or anything, I probably would have had that stereotype too. No offense. I mean, like you got the red, you know, the not a collared shirt. You got like a sweater on. You know, you got the comb back hair. You got the dad look going to you, and you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
never would
Well,
have
yeah.
thought that you're this guitarist and you know singer and you know play heavy metal and stuff, man. But that's awesome, man. Like for me, it's I look like this every day. People think I'm just another bearded IPA guy. You know what I mean?
Well, I couldn't figure out what band shirt to wear, because
Oh, it's all good.
yeah, no, no. I mean, I feel like when I wear a band shirt to a concert, I'm like dissing all the other bands, that are
Yeah,
on the bill, and that's why I'm always wearing, my NRM radio shirt. It's just, a generic shirt that says, hey, I support the scene.
there you go.
But people know me by that shirt.
Mm.
When I go to shows, they're like, "Hey, you're from NRM Radio," and I'm like, "Yep, that's me." But
Do you got shirts for sale up on your website?
yeah, yeah, they're on the website nrmradio.com,
I will definitely have to order one of those. Then I did not know you
and
had shirts.
yeah, all different types of merchandise. Cell phone
Sweet.
covers, whatever
Ooh,
you want.
very cool. I'll definitely have to check that out. Is there a dream concert that, you know, or a dream interview that you wish you could you know, have someday or, you know, or see or whatever?
I'd say a dream concert would probably be to see Tree and Gargantua Soul perform together.
Mm,
I know it's never going to happen. Gargantua Soul has run its course, according to Opus, but you never know. But it was just some of the best shows that I've seen. Of course, that was during my darkest times back in college, going to shows up in Springfield and New Haven, and it's just what kept me going.
mm.
So just to see them perform maybe one more time would be phenomenal.
You hear that? You
Um,
hear that, Opus? Make it happen.
yeah, make that
'Cause
happen, Opus.
I've never seen Gargantuan Soul, and I would love to see that.
There's videos all over the place, but on YouTube, but it doesn't do it justice. It really
Exactly.
doesn't.
Exactly.
And yeah, Chris, get your ass back to the East Coast.
Yeah, he comes around every now and then for the Opus B-Day bash in January.
He does,
Yeah.
and yeah, some of those sets are just phenomenal. The lineup that Opus puts together, I don't know how he does
Oh,
it.
I don't either, man. Like one year it's like, you know, a couple of guests here and there. The next year fucking Josta's headlining and like Brian from Shadows Fall is there and like all these big names and a lot of local like he is like one of the hardest working guys in the CT scene and I give Opus all the credit in the world for that, man.
Oh my
Like
God, yeah.
so much respect for him and he's helped me out so much and he's such a good dude. You know, I mean we were doing a video with Gabriel Gonzaga from formerly from the UFC, and I had no idea who we were going to record. He just hits me up one day. He says, "Hey, I need a cameraman for this thing in Massachusetts." I'm like, "Cool. Like, what are we doing?" "Oh, it's a music video." I'm like, "Dude, all I have are like GoPros and stuff. Like, they're not really like music video qualities." "Well, we'll make it work." And I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "Well, what are we shooting?" He's like, "I can't talk about it." I'm like, okay, like, am I getting paid for this? Like, what's going on? Like, I have no idea what we're doing. And then next thing I know, I'm in a van with him and his girl Jess and Gary Sandler, who is directing it. And we're driving, and I'm like, so what exactly are we doing? He's, oh, my friend's a fighter, and we're filming this like fighting thing or whatever for Dead by Wednesday. I'm like, oh, cool, very cool. And we get there, and I just see the posters, and I'm like, this guy looks so familiar. And then I see the UFC logo. I'm like, oh, this dude was like a former world champion. Like, holy shit! And then he just pulls in a Ford F1 or this big Ford truck or whatever, and he just pops out. I'm like, holy shit, that's Gabriel Gonzaga. I'm like, we're filming this guy today. So yeah, if you guys want to check that out, check out Dead by Wednesday. The song is called Beat Down and Broken. Myself and Jessica filmed it, and Gary directed it. It came out pretty damn good, and and Gary also edited it. So I thought he did a bang up job on it. So.
Oh, Gary does some great work.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, like I'm okay with video editing, but like what he did was amazing. So definitely check that out and show some love for Dead by Wednesday. So that song is so catchy. The entire album is just amazing. Like I feel like all we're doing is talking about Opus. This whole episode.
He's just done so much, for the Connecticut music scene, and even beyond really.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
But
just a lot of his connections. It's
this
insane. Everything goes around Opus. He's like the center of the New England music universe.
he's got the connections, like you want
uh,
you want to go somewhere, he can hook you up, but he's definitely one of those guys where like you show respect, you get respect back, so
Definitely.
Opus has been a big supporter of me and everybody else, especially when I was still doing music. And he's even asked me a few times, he says, why aren't you singing anymore? And I'm like, I ask myself that all the time, but like honestly, it's just like the timing right now isn't really great, and I'd like to get back into music. I want to do my own solo album, but it's just like with everything going on right now with coronavirus, and I was supposed to get together with a few guys and start something, but it just hasn't happened yet, unfortunately. So, hey, you get out of here! Sorry, my cat. She likes going by my feet where all the power supplies are and accidentally turning my computer off on me. So she's not allowed to come by my feet whenever I'm by my computer. So say
Yeah,
hi.
she's just trying to help.
She just wants attention because she's an attention whore. But anyway, do you have pets?
Have a fish.
You have fish?
But no, I grew up with cats and dogs, and
Okay.
definitely want to get either a cat, a dog, or maybe both. I know
Mm.
my kids definitely want a dog,
Dogs are nice.
and
They're a lot
my
of
daughter loves
work.
cats.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I grew up with a dog or with dogs my whole life, and for the last maybe 10 years or so, I lived in a condo that didn't allow pets, and we still had a cat though.
Mm.
But when we found out my son was allergic, he was one, and of course we had to give her up for adoption. And she was a rescue
Aw.
cat to begin with, so it made me feel that much worse.
Yeah. That sucks, man. Yeah. All my cats have been rescues the last couple of years for the most part. I definitely want a dog. I just don't have the time, but I grew up with dogs too and cats. It was a regular Noah's Ark at my mother's house. You need to get out of here. Thank you very much. Like for audio listeners, it's my cat again. She does this thing where like she'll start kneading on the rug and then she'll just plop right over. Like funniest thing.
Yeah,
But
yeah, we definitely had a three-ring circus in our house: dog, cat, fish, bird. And every so often we'd find the cat dangling at the bottom of the bird cage and the bird all the way on top. And we're like, oh my God. But,
yeah.
we're just lucky that the cat couldn't figure out how to get into the bird cage.
My cat that passed away a few years ago, he was like 22. I had him since I was a kid. He did the same thing. We had a couple parakeets that we got from my grandparents, and he knocked over the cage a few times. And I think I shouldn't even be saying this, but my brother one day he picked up my cat and like launched the cat from the kitchen all the way to the living room, like. And it's just like I was like, no, my cat. And he was like, the little shit was trying to eat the birds. Like, fuck your cat. Like,
don't worry, they land on all fours.
but like, I think my cat was just more like, he wasn't dazed, but he was just more shocked when like he landed on his feet. He was like, what the hell just happened? How did I get in here? Like,
I bet he never did that again.
no, he didn't do that again after that. But I remember one day the parakeets did get out of the cage, and our living room was painted white, and my mother would keep like greeting cards and stuff that we would get in the mail on top of the mantle. And one of the parakeets was white, and we're looking for this fucking bird all over the place. I'm like, where the fuck is this thing? And she was perched up on one of the greeting cards. I don't know how it stood up straight, but she was standing on one of the greeting cards just up against the wall where it was painted white. I'm like, is that her? Like, I can't tell. But yeah, it was the craziest thing. But like, yeah, just Just stuff from childhood. I remember just random things like that.
Yeah.
But we had oh god, did we have 3 dogs? Yeah, we had a beagle, we had a lab, and we had a shepherd husky mix all at different times. And they all, they passed away, but right now my mother has like this little, I don't know, it's like a Shih Tzu or something. It's some shaggy little dog that they found. It was like hiding under a porch at a neighbor's house, and nobody knew who this dog was. And they put an ad in the paper like, "Hey, found this dog." Like nobody claimed him, and I'm like, that's just how it is. Like every time a lost animal shows up on our property, we end up keeping the thing. Because that's how we got my cat, my first cat. The lab that we had, she was a lost pup too. Nobody claimed her. It was just crazy. It was like, why do all these animals just find our house and just decide to stay?
Yeah, my sister-in-law's like that out in Chicago, and then my brother's got some rescues also.
Yeah. I love taking care of rescues. It's great. It's a good feeling too. You're giving an animal a second chance at
Yeah,
life.
yeah,
So
definitely. And yeah, my grandparents many years ago, God rest their souls, they lived in Brooklyn, New York, and they would always bring these wild dogs up. And I remember they had 3 dogs at once, and it's absolutely crazy. But my grandfather, he would cook the dog steaks.
oh no shit,
So they were living the life,
spoiled.
but yeah, they were still wild. Every time he would take the dogs down, he'd be like, and if he saw someone trying to get into the elevator in the apartment building, he's like, "Don't come in here, lady, don't come in here," because the dogs are just wild.
Yeah.
And one day, yeah, when my brother was a little baby in the crib, one of them just decided to jump in the crib with him, and we're like, "Oh my god, this is it." But they're very protective.
Mm,
And I just heard the stories. I mean, my brother's older than me, so but still, you hear these stories. It's like, oh my gosh.
yeah. My dad's got a French Mastiff right now named Pumpkin, and this dog weighs about half as much as I do. So, like, you ever watch Turner and Hooch?
Yeah.
That dog, that's what he has.
Oh my god, those things are huge.
Yeah. But she's definitely very protective of my father. She knows who we are, obviously, and she's super happy every time she sees us. She thinks she's a lap dog, and it's funny for like 5 seconds, and then it's like, okay, get off my lap, you're fucking suffocating me here.
Yeah, that was one of our last dogs. A huge black lab. Big for what a black lab usually is.
Yeah.
And she thought she was a lap dog. She was just jump in your lap, like, oh my god, get off. It's like 110-pound behemoth.
Mm. I love dogs. I really want a dog, man, but like my apartment's so small and I'm working constantly. It's just like, when it happens, it'll happen. Isabella, you need to get out from under there. She's just like, I got all these wires everywhere, and she's just sitting there looking at me and whatever. So
Oh, of course.
she loves doing this. She loves pissing me off that way. She's like, pay
She
attention to
knows how
me.
to pull your strings.
I just took her to the vet the other day. I was telling Cody this. With everything going on in the world right now, it's you make the appointment, you pull up, and you call the vet's office, and then someone comes outside and grabs your animal for you, brings it inside. They do the checkup, and then the doctor or the assistant will call you and tell you what's going on, if anything's wrong or anything. And then from there, if a prescription or anything needs to be taken, they bring it outside, and then they call you over the phone with payment. It's like they take cards over the phone, so it's like it's so crazy right now. It's like it's almost the new norm right now, and it's just like it's so crazy how months ago we were just all social and doing stuff, and now it's like it's hard to leave home. And I can't, the last thing I did, I think, was I went to, because Scott from Crossing Rubicon, he's a bartender, and
Yeah.
I went and hung out at his place of work a few times before all this shit hit the fan. And I was hanging out with a friend who just had eye surgery, so it was like her first time actually like getting out and like doing something. So I took her out for like a belated birthday thing because she ended up having surgery on her eye on her birthday, and it was just a total mess of things. But I think that was the last thing I did, and that was oh my God, back in February, like late February. Like,
It is a brave new world we find ourselves in.
I know. So I'm just like, I'm happy that things like Zoom exists. You know what I mean? Where it's
Yeah,
you could
seriously.
stay connected with people and like have conversations and human interaction without getting each other sick. So I mean, it's nice, and it's I know it's not the same, but I mean, like without it, I wouldn't have started this podcast. So
Yeah, yeah, and I'm in the middle of writing a song, about this whole thing now. About at a time where we're supposed to be all coming together, everyone is just fighting each other, and
yeah.
it's insane. And we've all become like these casualties of war,
Mm.
so to speak.
Or
Regardless of what caused all of this, or all of the conspiracy theories, whatever. It's just we're supposed to be coming all together, helping each other out, and everyone is just at odds with each other.
or you have these influencers who are licking toilet seats or coughing on
Oh my
produce. It's like,
god.
well, like what's funny about that? Like, there's nothing funny about that whatsoever. It's like if I ever caught somebody doing that, I would beat the shit out of them, like without hesitation. It's like you're just ruining it for everybody else. Like, we want to get back to some sort of normal, and it's people like them that are not helping. You know,
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
so
And this song is probably one of the most aggressive ones that I've written. Just out of anger over the whole situation. It's like, what the hell? We're supposed to be coming together, not at each other's throats. And
mhm.
I don't know if you're familiar with Sonaro.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, Gus Sonaro's work. I could picture him being like the perfect vocalist for it.
He's definitely got a unique style. Um, I could definitely see that on an aggressive track, definitely. So, what? So you're working on that right now? You said.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if I'm ever going to record it, but at some point I would love to.
Well, never
Definitely
say
sooner than
never.
later. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're all stuck at home anyway, and
You got more than enough time to work on it.
yeah. Maybe my kids would do some background vocals or something. They're always banging around on the piano, on my guitars, and
Well,
so
hey,
yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
if you ever need vocals, let me know, man. I'm always open to helping friends out on projects. I'm just not looking to join a band or anything. So, but I'm always open to doing guest vocals for friends on tracks, definitely. So,
Yeah, I'll keep that in mind. Yeah, it's
uh,
have to figure out like the drum situation now.
yeah.
I can do the guitars, I can do the vocals. I know you can do the vocals. I guess I can maybe mess around with some bass, but it's the drumming. I got to get some kind of, I guess, drum machine going.
Yeah. At least something to get it going, and then you could just, pass it off to a drummer that wants to help out, like, hey, this is the basic idea I'm going for. Like, what can you do with it?
Yeah.
So, um, but yeah, I mean, I guess that's gonna do it. It's already been over an hour already. Holy cow, time
Oh
flies
my
for
god.
these.
Yeah,
Is
look at my clock here.
where can everybody find New England Rock and Metal Radio to tune in and request songs?
Sure. So we're on the Radionomy app. I'm not even sure if that's around anymore on iTunes. Sometimes it's on iTunes, sometimes it's not, but the app itself still works just fine if it's still there. But you can listen directly through nrmradio.com/listen. And I know sometimes the website is a little quirky. I'm still working some of the kinks out. The play button sometimes shows up on mobile devices, sometimes it doesn't. But I do have links where you can also hear it if the play button doesn't show up. But other than that, I'm just more than happy to be getting music out there. And if we can't fill music venues with music, then let's at least still, fill news feeds with music. And I'm just trying to share everything I can, trying to still keep some sense of normalcy, amidst all of this chaos. And I was talking to Keith Comtois from Simple about this very thing. I've been playing some of the old Simple tracks and some of his other bands that he's had over the years, Adam's Rib, um, Barbarian Thieves, and it's just like, thank you so much for playing our tunes, and I'm like, I'm just trying to keep a sense of normalcy.
That's very cool, man. You know, it's guys and girls like you that like keep the scene going and like keep the music alive. And you know, we definitely thank you for all the support that you've given guys like me, especially because you know there are times where like I'll be scrolling through Facebook real quick and New England Rock and Radio just played "Home" from In the Red. I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool, man. Thanks, I appreciate that. You know, like I'll see that every now and then. You know, I'll try to tune in every now and then at work, but like the service at my job is so shit. Like it's hard to listen in sometimes. But like I'll pop it on every now and then when I'm home. So I definitely, you know, coming from me, I definitely appreciate what you got, what you do, especially to keep things going, especially with everything going on right now and keeping the music alive. So definitely, if you are in the local music scene, whether Connecticut or not, like definitely check out New England Rock and Metal Radio with my boy Adam here. He'd be more than happy to get you some airplay and stuff and help promote you in any way. So
Yeah,
um,
definitely. And anybody can submit MP3s to newenglandrock@gmx.com. We'd be more than happy to listen to them. And we'll play just about any type of hard music from basically all over the northeastern United States, even a little bit outside of New England. Got some bands from Pennsylvania, Delaware, and New York and New Jersey that we play. Along with everything from New England, and try to go back, give nods to some of the older bands as well. So we have songs that came out in the late '90s, early 2000s, as well as some brand new stuff. I know Carpathia's got some awesome music coming out. Just way too many bands going through my mind right now that are coming out with just some killer music, and
that's a
more
good
than happy playing.
that's a good problem to have, though. Too much music, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah. Ashes to Embers. That's another band that I'm really digging right now. They're sending me new tunes, so I'm putting them on. And that's actually members of Dead Season, my mother, and a couple other bands up in northern New England.
Very cool. Well, I wanna bring this to a close right now. I want to thank my friend Adam for joining me today from New England. No, I can't talk. Let me try that again. Take two. I want to thank Adam from New England Rock and Metal Radio for stopping by, and this was great, man. Like again, this is our first like real conversation with each other, like outside of Facebook, and like I had a blast talking and chilling with you today, man. Thank you for stopping by.
Yeah, yeah, same here. And thank you for having me on.
Yeah, and stay healthy, man. Stay safe during this whole thing, and hopefully one of these days when this quarantine shit's over, maybe I'll catch you at a show. I'll buy you a drink. All right.
Oh, yeah, likewise.
All right, brother. You take care. All right.
All right, you do the same.
Bye bye.